Hi everybody, my name is Steve and I've been involved in running the Facework programme and working with learners in creating this resource, which as you may know is called Soft Skills for the Changing World of Work. And lots of teachers have commented on this and said it's brilliant that you've got in one space a whole range of activities that almost a student could do on their own. And of course you can photocopy them and give them out and do student activities using this as a kind of workbook. But let's just step back a second. Why am I so passionate about thinking about soft skills? We know that hard skills get you the job. A qualification, if you're going for a job which needs a qualification, no substitute. But soft skills, teamwork, problem solving, communication skills, self-management, these are the skills that grow someone's career. And career guidance is so important in schools, helping students have informed, independent choices. We just so affirm career guidance counsellors and practitioners and professionals who do this work day in, day out. It's not very well funded here in the UK and I suspect elsewhere. So knowing that that's challenging and also knowing that the world of work is changing so much, how do we teach employability skills and soft skills in particular? And I just wanted to, in an old school way, talk about 6 essential points about teaching soft skills that I think you'll resonate, but hopefully make it relevant. I've even prepared them here on the old flip chart. You don't see people using flip charts in videos very much these days, but here we go. Isn't it important to show the relevancy and the context of this learning? Not just for now, but for the future. And the great thing about soft skills is that there's an element of philosophy and psychology and sociology and personality types. It is so relevant and it is brilliant when students recognise that they're good at these things. So the first thing is to recognise the relevancy of this, that it really will make people's lives better, not just in the workplace, but in all our relationships at home, how we develop our sports skills, a whole range of things. Soft skills are brilliant. I call them superpowers. Now, the hook for us is employability, because young people coming out of school now, and even universities and colleges all around the world, are so anxious about the gig economy, about not having a job for life, about machine learning and automation taking over a lot of the certainly manual and semi-skilled jobs. So this is a really important point to show how this is important, and we've tried to do that in the book, but you'll have other ways and other examples. The second thing is, it's a solutions-focused approach. It's very hard to get a qualification in soft skills. You wouldn't be able to do it. So about self-assessment, asking students to help assess where they are. Every chapter we start with this kind of spider's web, this guide, which says, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you? And at the end of the chapter we say, how have you grown? So self-assessment is so important, and of course it's subjective and it's relative, but it's a really good way of saying, out of 10, where would you say you were in terms of gaining confidence or growing your confidence? If you're 5, let's just think of a 5 to 6. So solutions focus. What's one thing from this lesson that could help you really get to grips with growing your confidence? Can you see? It's small scale, and obviously it's better with 1-to-1, but you can also do it in a group setting, and it's brilliant when the magic comes alive, where group work and activity helps reinforce the learning and students are helping themselves. So showing the context is relevant. Start a session maybe with a newspaper clipping. I read today this has happened. This is relevant to the subject we're talking about. Start with a film. It's brilliant to actually a little clip from a Hollywood film where, somebody hasn't shown empathy. You're talking about empathy. We use Lego a lot where, you can start talking about a character. Well, how has this person you've made in a small group got their superpower? And it's bizarre how students will suddenly become very much more expressive because they're possibly talking about themselves, but through a proxy of a bit of Lego. The next thing that I think is so important when we're talking about teaching soft skills is the power of asking powerful questions. It's so obvious, isn't it? Don't we as teachers want to give the answers? Sometimes they don't know the answers to these subjects. So helping people to say, well, what question unlocks that learning? There's no such thing as a silly question. Honestly. Some of the most important questions come from people thinking in a tangential way or in a different way of looking at this. We need divergent thinking. It's a skill which has a superpower. You get good at asking questions, you grow in your stature. And there's techniques you can say to people, I'm thinking, it may sound silly, but has anybody thought about this? And developing a new prism or a new approach to that is brilliant. And I think the great thing about soft skills training is, as a teacher, you can show that you're learning together. Now, that may weaken or may dilute your authority, discuss, but it is also brilliant to say, the other day, somebody told me that I wasn't very empathetic in a situation. I want to ask you whether that's true or not. Can I give you the scenario? Now, you might say, Steve, that's a bit too much. But actually showing that you are a learner in this space is really powerful. And the whole point about this is we're trying to model lifetime learning. Learning doesn't just take place in the classroom, you know. A lot of the work that we're doing in Facework is in Morocco, in India, in Nepal, in community settings. And that's why adults can learn about these soft skills with students, and it's so powerful when you have that intergenerational learning. So referencing the fact that we're learning together and thinking about the importance of questions rather than answers is important. Third thing, and of course it's obvious, isn't it? One of the soft skills we talk about is actually debate and discussion, argument, having a proposition and holding to it and making sure that it holds up. Critical thinking, that's what I'm talking about. In a way, thinking trumps feelings, I feel. You know, we'll talk about these things because we feel about them. They are soft skills. They're talking about communication skills, personal interaction skills, problem solving, managing your emotions, all sorts of things. And they're about feelings. But I think what we're trying to do is help people to really think about these things. When you start talking about soft skills, how you work in teams, how you develop communication strategies, how you think about neurodivergent learners, this is a really fascinating way. And I believe that young people have so many of the answers to unlocking these new doors. We don't necessarily need to use old keys. You know, if you find an old key, of course it's not going to work. You might as well throw it away. Think now about relearning. Alvin Toffler says this, the 21st century literate will be somebody who can learn, unlearn, and relearn. And I think what we're trying to say in this program is us as teachers, we can relearn not only how to teach these subjects, but also learn from our students. And you know, we can disagree. Sometimes people say, well, there's too much noise in this classroom. I don't mind noise in the classroom. It's a sign of learning. I think arguing and debating is really important. We don't have enough time to do that. We're so saturated with getting the information out so that people can test and then prove that they can learn it in an exam. Thinking. We don't encourage divergent thinking. So the critical thinking is a really important thing about soft skills. And I want to really emphasize that because people said to me, Steve, it's a bit obvious, isn't it? You know, it's really caught rather than taught. Yeah. But if you've grown up in a family where you haven't been given responsibility, if you've grown up in a family where your parents don't show empathy, where you're not resilient, where you haven't got opportunities to work in teams, then there are really powerful interventions that we can have in schools that prepares children for life outside the school gates, not just exams. And so I'm really passionate about this. Let us think about these subjects with all our intention, all our integrity, all our academic prowess to make sure that we're thinking about the pedagogy here. How do we teach these? And by and large, we teach by doing. Not by exams, not by just telling people what to learn. We teach by doing. The next thing, of course, is fascinating, is how do we both recognise and evaluate and accredit the learning. I did this amazing piece of work for 2 years in excluded young people. And they said to me, Steve, I don't really care what you think. You know, you've already got your mortgage. You know, check your privilege, check your mirrors. That's a lovely phrase. They check your mirrors, you know. But they said, I'm more interested in what my mates think. So we designed this sort of notion of mates rates. And when we learn from each other, you can actually encourage people to say, well, who in this group do you think is really good at staying motivated or embracing ambiguity? And these are big phrases. You can make it simpler. And you'll find people say, oh, Charlie's really good at that. The other day on the football pitch, he was the one who said, get up after we were losing 2-0. The importance of small group work. This is why the lesson plans that we design are around breaking people up into small groups from day one. Smaller groups, 4 or 5 people, getting people to talk, asking provocative questions, allowing them to explore a subject without you talking as a sage on the stage from on high as to what you believe. You know, let's get by the side and the guide by the side. Let's get into the professional pit of learning with these young people. And I think that's really important. And of course, I've already mentioned it, but learning together from each other, but in different settings. Here in London, we run this Ukraine refugee program, Afghan, Syrian refugee program, young entrepreneur programs, and actually making social learning so important, breaking down this kind of us and them, having fun. What you learn with pleasure, you never forget. Number 5. I believe that we can grow once we get feedback. You know the issue, that feedback is so important. You get a child to come and say, here's your essay, and you haven't marked it. How do they feel? They feel devalued. They feel unmotivated. Feedback is the miracle tool in the box of learning. Corny, I know, but it is true. Once you give intentional feedback, direct feedback, authentic feedback, it really helps someone say, I've learned it. So what I'm talking about in this kind of pit of learning is actually making feedback to young people intentional, make it authentic, give 2 positives to 1 negative, you know these things. And actually say, helping them to ask, can I get some feedback from you? How do I come across in this area? With the Ukraine group we're looking at, we're talking about language skills for the workplace. Really important for them to say, am I clear? How is my English? Do I come across confidently? But as long as we model positive, intentional, authentic, powerful feedback, and we take time to feedback verbally, not just through red marks on an essay. I know this is taking time, and I know that teachers are under so much pressure. This, though, is a different way of teaching in the community and teaching in youth clubs, teaching with people who aren't teachers, but helping you to get this across. Finally, one of the things that's so relevant is when you get a session like, here's one example, for example, let's just take one totally at random. Here we are. How do you get good at managing risks? Okay, no one taught me about managing risks. I know now how to do a risk register in my work here, but managing risks and making decisions is based on that. If you don't make a decision, you're making a decision. Once you've thought about a theme like that, how do you then encourage people to say, let me see it in action? And how are you going to notice that you're doing it? How are you going to capture the change? In the old days, we might have taken a journal or taken a photograph of us doing something. But I really think that teaching soft skills is not just teaching the importance of it, but helping people to then create habits. Habits are the things that, after a time, stick. So even this concept of mastering, people, when I used to run a cafe here in South London, people would come in and say, can I be a barista? And I said, sure, have you made coffee? Yeah, I know how to do it. Well, how many times have you made it? Oh, my friend showed me his cappuccino machine. I said, if you're going to charge a customer £3.20 for a coffee, it's got to be better than Starbucks. So I want consistency, and I want you to have 10,000 hours on a machine before I know you can really do it. Now, obviously, they didn't, and I used to give up and let them try and learn by doing and learning by making mistakes. But the point is, we forget this idea of mastering something. It's not the same as just getting a qualification. You want to be known for doing something good. So again, here's one as an example. Here we are, being organised. It's a really important skill. It's part of the soft skills self-management framework. How do you get good at being organised? Well, are you someone who can teach somebody else? Are you somebody who's known as being organised? Are you punctual? So this concept of mastering is important. And the great thing then finally, in this whole idea of soft skills, is if somebody can then teach another person, they learn twice. Teach once, learn twice. So there we go, a little bit of a rambling lecture. Sorry, old school with paper and things. I haven't done PowerPoint, but I hope that you can capture these 6 things that are so important. The relevancy of this subject for young people's lives, the magic of asking powerful questions, the importance of critical thinking. We can think our way through this. It's not just about feelings and soft skills are all a bit soft. Actually, it's the hardest thing you learn, I believe. Soft skills is the wrong term for it. 21st century skills, skills for success, life skills, critical thinking skills, character strengths. It's like a smorgasbord of names and words. We've settled on soft skills because I think that's generally what employers think. But critical thinking on this is important. Learning from one another, that's what's brilliant about this type of activity. This type of pedagogy is it comes alive when people talk, when they discuss, when they make mistakes. Growing from feedback, mates rates. Just use that as a phrase. Well, we're going to do mates rates now. Get into teams, talk about each other's strengths. Who do you think is the best in this group at that? Who do you think is the... They all validate each other. And finally, embedding the learning in doing. Say, right, between now and next week, I want you to find 5 examples or 3 examples where you've illustrated or demonstrated this. I want you to have a talk with an employer about why they think this skill is so important. To talk to your parents or carers about, why they think you're good at this skill. So, there we go. There's things here that I know you already know. I've shared this in humbleness, in my own learning, how I've done this in villages in Morocco, how I've done it in Nepal and India, how we've developed workshops in this. There are techniques and there are really powerful things that you will, as a professional, bring to this learning. The important thing is, get going, start it. Our kids are crying out for better learning to prepare them for all the changes and all the discussions about technology and AI in the world. Soft skills will make or break your career. And this book is a start, but how you use it and embed it in the lesson in the classroom is where it will come to life. I'm here to help, I'm here to come and learn. I want to understand what the challenges you face so that together Facework can really help people do what the name says, face work with confidence, creativity and actual passion for work. Thank you very much.